What's up everyone? Today I want to share some tips on how to improve and get better as a sorcerer in Diablo 4. With the release of Season 4, there is now lots of hard endgame content like tormented bosses, there's a pit that just goes deeper and deeper and just keeps getting harder, and playing a squishy sorcerer can be a bit rough. But there are some tricks, there are some tips I can give you that will help you improve your damage, your survivability, and hopefully your enjoyment of this class at endgame. I've played Sorcerer every single season. I've played it since the game first came out, and I've tried a lot of builds, a lot of different things. So yeah, I want to share some of the things that I do every season to really help progress and help push my character as far as I can. Some of these you might already know, some of them might be new to you. Hopefully there's something here for everyone. So let's get into it. Number one is a huge way to boost your damage no matter what build you're playing. So the first tip is the damage to burning enemies trick. Now this is a way to gain massive damage boost and a massive damage reduction no matter what build you're playing. If you're playing ice, fire, thunder, it doesn't matter. You can gain this burning enemies boost, and I'll explain how to do it. If you go into your abilities, you go to your skill assignments to get to your enchantments. You want this one, the Firebolt enchantment. Direct damage from skills applies an additional burning damage over 8 seconds. That means that when you damage an enemy with a fire skill, a lightning skill, an ice skill, you will apply burning damage to them. So they'll be burning over time. And you can do that effortlessly because this basic skill, most builds don't use a basic skill. So you just put 1 point into here or 2 points into here, whatever you need to unlock this. And then you use that as one of your enchantment slots. And then every single enemy gets classed as burning instantly. So everything you do normally, you're now dealing with burning enemies. And that means we can take advantage of every single time we see something to burning enemies. We can take that point because all our enemies are burning. It doesn't matter that they're burning for 1 damage. We can still take all those points. So if you go into the skill tree and you come down here, there's this little cluster right here. You deal 21% increased crit strike damage to burning enemies. If they are crowd controlled, which most builds do on a sorcerer, they do crowd control your enemies, that's increased to 30%. So if you think of like an ice build that uses freeze, you're now gaining 30% crit, which is absolutely massive. And then if you go on the Paragon board as well, let's max this out. Most builds on a sorcerer are elemental based. So a thunder build will have really good thunder paragon boards, and then all the rest of your boards will be kind of rubbish. So what you'll see a lot of builds doing is they'll use all the other boards, they'll go into them, grab the glyph and leave because all the other stuff in that board is useless. However, by doing this trick, we can, no matter what build we're playing, make use of the fire board. So if we go type burn in here so we can filter by burn, and there's the burning instinct board up here. Normally you would just go in and get the glyph and leave. However, with this big boost of burning enemies that we're getting, all of these are huge. Look at this little cluster here. 22% damage reduction from burning enemies. 2% damage reduction from burning enemies. All around there, up there. 45% damage to burning enemies. 5% damage to burning enemies. We're getting a massive boost to burning enemies, and all our enemies are burning. If you have the points, you can go and get these as well. Extra damage. And I think there's a glyph as well that gives damage to burning enemies. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Flame Feeder, maybe? Flame Feeder. Increased damage to burning targets. So you can find loads of ways to really ramp your damage and ramp your defenses by having enemies burning. Now, if you're doing like a really conjuration heavy build as well, you can use the Hydra to burn your enemies, which is an okay way to do it. And then you might not need to use the enchantment slot. But for the most part, every other build can take advantage of the burning enemies trick just by putting a couple of points into Firebolt and putting it in your enchantment slot. Okay, next up, I want to show you how to gain a massive damage boost using a certain ring. And that ring is Tal Rash's Iridescent Loop. You can farm uniques really easy in Season 4. So when you get to endgame, you can start working on getting this. It doesn't look very good on paper. For each elemental damage, you deal up to 15% damage, up to 60% increased damage. And you might be thinking, oh, well, if I'm playing an ice build, I've just got ice magic. If I'm using a fire build, I'm just using fire. And you kind of are, but there are small tweaks you can make to pick up different elemental types and really ramp your damage up that you're probably already doing and not realizing. So let's go through some of the elements and ways to squeeze them in your build to take advantage of this ring. First is fire. We've talked about fire already. The burning enemy trick, which is used on, which can be used on almost every build, is a way to get fire damage into your build. On top of that, you can take the fire shield. The flame shield also damages enemies around you with fire. So that's a way to get a little bit of fire damage. Thunder is really easy as well. If you're doing conjurations, you'll be throwing out lightning spears. If you're using this, I use this on every single build. I can't think of a single build where I've not used teleport. Teleport deals lightning damage. When you land with teleport, you deal lightning damage to everything around you. So that's tick that box. So most builds will be doing fire and lightning. So that's 2 elements. Next is ice. If you're playing season 4, most endgame builds are ice. It feels like that's what it is right now. Ice seems really strong at endgame, so you've probably already got ice ticked off. If not, okay, now the last way to get another element is through tempering. So I've already got it on my, this is my main build I'm using right now, and I've got it on my weapon. A chance to deal shadow damage, lucky hit. So if you put your weapon into the tempering window, go into weapons, and elemental surge, you can get fire, lightning, cold, but you can get poison and you can get shadow. So if you take lucky hit, 40% chance to deal poison or shadow, you tick a 4th box. That means you're getting 4 elements of damage. Doesn't matter if that damage is 1 damage, 2 damage. As long as you tick the box here of getting different elements, you're getting up to a 60% damage boost. It's huge. It really, really adds up. It really, really works well when you don't have to do much to your build. 1 temper and maybe 2 skill points to gain 60% damage boost. It's really worth it. That's one of the main reasons you're seeing this Tal Rochelle's loop on a lot of builds. Okay, next up, I want to talk about a way to gain almost infinite mana. Now that sounds, oh, infinite mana. No. Really, you can gain an incredibly high mana regen with this next unique. Tybalt's Will. Looking at this, it looks trash. I get it. You deal 18 to 20% increased damage while unstoppable, and for 5 seconds after, fine. You become unstoppable, you gain 50 of your primary resource. Now that sounds, sounds okay, right? But that is a way for insane mana regen. Let me show you why. If we go somewhere where we can fight stuff. Okay, now this blizzard build is very mana intensive. If I start casting some blizzards, you can see my mana drop massively. Now if I drain my mana, and then I cast teleport, my mana's back to full. So this is an unstoppable. When you teleport, you become unstoppable. Like I say, teleport I have on every single build. I can't think of a reason never to have teleport, never not to have teleport. And every single time you drain your mana, you drain it down, and you're back to full. That means that your only restriction on having a full mana bar is the cooldown on your teleport. If you go into teleport, you'll see it here. I've got 5 points in teleport, which makes 0 sense, really, because you don't really care about the damage of teleport, but it's cooldown reduction. You see here with 1 point, 8.7 seconds. With 5 points, it's 7.1 seconds. On top of this, in my gear, I have 14% cooldown reduction on my helmet. My cooldown reduction is only 20% of a total of 75%, which means you can bring that teleport cooldown down drastically. And I'm going to show you something later to gain instant cooldowns. Your things come off cooldown in a second. I'm going to show you that later on, but for now, just know, as long as you can bring teleport off cooldown fast, you can keep refilling your mana indefinitely. There is no cooldown on Tybalt's Will. It just is constant mana regen. But yeah, that's a way to work towards almost infinite mana. Okay, now let's talk about another thing that sounds too good to be true. Instant cooldowns. This is a way to gain almost instant cooldown reduction. So say you've got a 5-second cooldown, how to get that off cooldown in a second instead of 5 seconds. And that serves 2 purposes. 1, it brings our teleport off cooldown faster. So if you've got a 7-second teleport and you do this next trick, you can gain it in a couple of seconds. Same with the shields. Using our barriers is how we stay alive, and they have like a 15-second cooldown on my build right now. If you can bring that down to say 5 seconds, 3 seconds, that means you're almost a tank. You're constantly, you get hit, you put your next barrier on, you get hit, you put your next barrier on. You constantly just rotate between the 2 barriers. So how do we get this instant cooldown reduction? I will show you. You go to your skills, and it is a conjuration. It's the Ice Blade. Almost every build I use, I see if I can squeeze in Ice Blades for this one reason. When you look at Ice Blades, this is how they work. Conjure a pair of Ice Blades, they make an enemy vulnerable, and they attack an enemy. And then when you go here, Ice Blade's cooldown is reduced each time it hits a vulnerable enemy. Now, that means that the cooldown of Ice Blades will go down each time they attack. Having more Ice Blades mean they will reduce their own cooldowns faster. The Ice Blade has a cooldown of like 12 seconds. If you have 3 Ice Blades and they're all attacking a vulnerable enemy, their cooldown is going to come down faster and faster and faster, which is cool. Having more Ice Blades is cool. But then when we get to here, 20% of Ice Blade's cooldown reduction is applied to your other skills. So if you have an Ice Blade and it's just going, it's attacking a vulnerable enemy, all these skills are coming off cooldown. If you have 5 Ice Blades, they're all attacking an enemy, all of that cooldown reduction is feeding into these, and all of these things will start coming off of cooldown really, really fast. I use this Ice Blade trick in my Frozen Orb build, and you can see the cooldowns. Look, you can see them getting chipped away. The ultimate, the shields, the teleport, they're all coming off cooldown so fast because there's so many Ice Blades out, and it's just they're triggering more and more and more cooldown reduction. But yeah, that's it really. I just wanted to share some tips to try and help you at endgame, try and progress faster, maybe try and get further, survive longer. These are all ways to increase damage reduction, get your cooldowns back faster, get your mana back faster. I use a lot of these tricks on the builds I make, and hopefully that not just watching the builds helps, but understanding in a detailed video of why I do the things I do or why I've taken certain things helps you understand and make your own builds, or at least understand Sorcerer a little better. But yeah, I don't normally make these sort of specific class guides, so let me know if this has helped. I hope it does. If you want to see more as well, let me know. And if you have any other Sorcerer tips, let me and other people know, because endgame's hard now, and as Sorcerers we got to stick together. But that's the video. Take care. Subscribe to the channel if you like this style of content, you want to see more. But that's it from me. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.